for Lisa. I love it. Oh, it looks so pretty. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lisa with Lisa Boone Designs. I am excited to do this makeover for this buffet. It's for a special lady. A few weeks ago, I actually did a set here in this store. It's going to be a carpet store here in Madisonville. And I had the large dining room and a big buffet. Well, this is for her sister. I've previously done some work for her, and sad to say that their mom passed away, and this was her mom's. And so it's a very special piece, and she asked me to paint it for her. And so I'm really excited to do this for her as a tribute to her mom and for her to remember and to just make it over and make it something really beautiful that she'll treasure for a lifetime. Prior to me picking up this buffet, it had been cleaned really well, but I still want to go ahead and clean it. I'm taking a solution of vinegar and water, and I added a little bit of Blue Dawn, and then I go ahead and I clean it with a microfiber cloth. The Blue Dawn is a natural degreaser as well as the vinegar, and I love using it because it's all natural. Now I noticed some veneer damage and I didn't want to rip it off, so I went ahead and I applied some glue using my syringe, and then I just used a clamp. Now this was a hard piece to fix. I tried several different ways. I made a mold out of glue, and then I realized that I was doing the top and not the bottom because I'm trying to make a mold for the reverse side. So I applied glue onto the molding to make myself a mold, and this is what it looks like. And then later I realize it, so I add more glue to the bottom part of the mold of this drawer so that I could do the reverse side. So you just peel it and remove it, and then you get a mold. Easy, right? Well, this part is easy, but I had a hot mess on my hands. I decided to try to use Bondo. I've always wanted to use it, and that was super easy. It is pretty stinky. You need to apply the little gel, which is the hardener, and you mix it in really, really well until it's all mixed up together. And then it sets up pretty fast, so you don't want to make too much, which I ended up making too much. And you just want to quickly mix it and then apply it to your places. But I went through several different versions of trying to get this mold done. So I filled my mold with the Bondo, and then I taped it on there thinking that it would take shape, and I let it just sit there for a few minutes. And I just used the rest of the Bondo for a few different pieces that I wanted to fill. My hubby was off on vacation, turkey hunting and doing a few different things, and he showed up at the shop, and I realized I didn't have a screwdriver or any tools, so he came to the rescue. Thank you, hubby. And he took off all of the hardware for me, and this applique had come off, so I just put some Type-on glue and let it sit there. And I was sitting there like, what in the world is going on up there? I had issues with my first mold, so I tried it again, and I cut just a small portion of the mold and figured I would let it set inside the mold and then apply it. While the Bondo was setting, I sanded down all of the Bondo that I had applied, and then I took out the actual Bondo from the mold while it was just setting. I thought that maybe I could work it a little bit better. If I had tools, I would have cut the mold and I could have placed this. There's several things I could have done, or cut the actual Bondo mold, but I had to work with what I had. Last week we had gone on a trip and I showed you the thrifting side, but we had also gone to pick up one of my husband's clients' deer that he had at a taxidermist in a small town, and we went and picked it up, and I just had to show you guys. Have you ever seen that many deer? Like, that was insane. He had so many, and he had another building full of stuff that he was working on. I thought it was pretty interesting. I'd never been around hunting or hunters, and so it's taking me a little bit to get used to this, but my husband definitely loves it. And this deer actually sat in my car for a couple of days and kept scaring me. I'm so glad that it went to the client. And then here's a little look into the cat that we rescued a few months back. She is quite happy. She's actually sitting in my lap right now as I edit. Next up, we have to strip the top. And I did that because I was at the carpet store and we do have carpet there. I didn't want to do a lot of sanding. The last time I did sanding at the store, I was covered. The floor, the walls, everything was covered. So I wanted to minimize the amount of sanding, and I went ahead and I used this stripper. I only did it one time and it did really, really well. I like to use a chip brush to spread the stripper all around. And once I got a nice, good, even, thick layer, I went ahead and I put saran wrap over it. I don't usually do that, but it was very, very cold there, and I wanted to make sure that the stripper was going to work in a short time period. So it's cold in here. I had to go ahead and pick up some coffee, a vanilla latte, so that I could warm up while I wait for the stripper to do its thing. I also shellacked all the places where I sanded down to the actual wood so that I wouldn't get any bleed through from the tannins, and also where I hit it with the Bondo. Thankfully, the store where I'm at, 575 McCoy Avenue, is literally like around the block, and I needed some air dry clay. I tried several ways of doing the repair and it wasn't working, so I do have my mold that I created, and I'm going to use air dry clay to fill that in, and so that's the next step. I painted these counters with DIY paint. All right, I'm just gonna take a little bit. There's nothing like a brand new package of IOD clay. I'm just gonna fit it in here. I brought a Ziploc bag because it is air dry clay. It will dry out with air, and we don't want to ruin this clay. Get all the air out. I should have used the air dry clay from the get-go, but I wanted to try the Bondo. And in another job, I probably will try it again. I'm sure it'll work a lot better, but this was just a unique situation. So I tried to put it inside of the mold. I applied the glue and then I let it set in there. And then I took the mold off, and then I just started molding it with my fingers. And I think that was the best way to do it. And then just really get it on there and fit it where I needed to fit it. All right, we're gonna take Hey Sailor. I'm using a quart-sized container. So keep in mind the small amount of paint that I actually ended up using on this buffet, and I have paint left over. I kept applying small piece amounts of Old School until I thought I liked what I saw. And then I was able to get a little bit more Hey Sailor out. I'm using my S50 Klingon brush that I had soaked a little bit in water and took all the excess water out. It just helps you to get a really smooth finish, and it also helps the paint to glide. And so I'm just going to do a test area because DIY paint dries a little bit lighter. I just kind of wanted to see what it was going to look like on the piece. And then make a decision if we need a little bit more Old School, or even I have black velvet and little black dress, and then we'll decide. All right, just a little test on the corner here, and I think we can go ahead and get started. Let's see what we've got. As you can see, I'm using a metal putty knife. I do recommend a plastic one. So I'm being very, very cautious as I'm removing the varnish off of this piece. It did a great job. I only did one coat of the stripper, and then later I will sand it. For my moldings, I took a brass brush and I just literally brushed it off. This brass brush is the ticket. You can see the pieces just falling off. Wherever you need to, you could always take a sanding sponge and sand off lightly some of the varnish that's left behind, and then use mineral spirits or paint thinner to deactivate the chemical and also to clean off any leftover residue. That's pure Hey Sailor. That's the mix. Actually, I added black velvet on this one, and I'm definitely liking the darker version, but just so you can see. Once I got the color that I wanted, my client really wanted a dark navy. She sent me some samples of different buffets that she'd seen on Pinterest, and so I just chose the color that I thought she would like best based off of the pictures that she sent me. Let me know in the comments what you thought about my navy. And also, if you're interested in purchasing any of the products that I used today, please be sure to go to the description. You can shop online on my website for DIY paint. Hey.
If we only could talk just a little, find a place where the past is forgiven. You moved on, I am stuck in the middle. Tried to run, but there's nowhere to go. Even in my sleep, I'm calling out your name, but I never wanted things to be this way, this way. Trying to keep up my ass. I don't ever want you back. No matter what I say, still you know I do miss you. I do miss you. Holding hands, run the hair for us.
As you can see, I use the Fine Mist Sprayer. It's a continuous spray bottle with just water to reactivate my paint. And it helps to apply the second coat, and it looks so great. And as soon as you wet it, you can see how it gets more vibrant. And somewhere between that state and the dry state to the right is where we will end up. And it just gives me the idea of what it's going to look like, and I'm really enjoying this process. So I'm using my color mix on the top. I applied little tabs of blue tape. You can see them on the drawers. There's some on the door as well, because normally I just use a screwdriver to pull my drawers out, but because the holes were so small, I needed the tape, and that worked really well. It's a great hack. She wanted blue and gray, and so I chose Skeleton Key because I use Skeleton Key in this blue, and I love the transition. For my top, I called my client right before I started my second coat, and I showed it to her. Normally I don't do that, but she really wanted to see it, and I convinced her to not use Dark and Decrepit, which I love Dark and Decrepit on the top. And I've done that for her in the past, and all we did was seal it with Big Top, and it looks amazing. Don't you think so? And then I also asked her if we could do black on the bottom and transition to the gray, and I just love the way that did that. It deepened it, it gave it some depth. It wasn't black, it was blended with the Skeleton Key, but it really just makes a subtle difference, but it makes a difference. And this is now a statement piece. Originally, she wanted me to paint this white with the walnut on top, basically Dark and Decrepit. And I talked her into doing color. I'm like, this is a statement piece. This is in honor of your mom. Let's do something wow. And let me tell you, she was wowed. I got these knobs last night at Hobby Lobby, and I think they are just perfect. So these will be for the drawers, and then these will be for the doors. Wait until you see how it looks on the piece. We're about to go ahead and seal it up. Here's a quick look as to what it looked like before we started sealing. I applied 4 coats of Big Top on the top because she told me originally this was going to hold her TV, and I wanted to make sure it's going to be very, very durable. And because you're using the sponge, the coats are a little bit thinner. Then DIY's clear wax. Sometimes on highly pigmented pieces, I go ahead and I apply Big Top on the bottom. I probably should have because I hate cleaning my wax brushes, and I definitely had to clean my wax brush. So in order not to contaminate my wax, I'm going to go ahead and just pull wax out. I usually just put it on the lid. And then this way, I grab my wax. Look at that difference. The excess pigment on here, I'm gonna go ahead and wipe it on this towel, this cloth, because I don't want the bottom to get this blue. I should have started with the bottom, but I was so anxious to see what color we were gonna get. I love using DIY clear wax because it covers so great and you get a durable finish. This is called the freak out factor, and you might freak out if you saw this and you tried this at home, but I promise, give it a chance, and this is what will happen after it dries. Colored waxes just takes your piece to the next level. Here I'm using dark wax. Dark wax is a brown based wax, and because I applied clear wax, I'm able to have a little bit more flexibility, and the chalk in the paint is not going to soak up that dark wax, so I can erase it with the clear wax, and I just apply it all over all of the grooves, the edges. Then I go ahead and I clean up my drawers simply by wetting my rag. I'm using a microfiber rag and cleaning up my drawers. And then golden rule for the win. I asked my client if I could apply gold, and she was hesitant. She thought it was going to be shiny. She wasn't sure if she was going to like it. She goes, just a little bit, right? And I showed her some pictures of other pieces where I've done this before, and she said, okay. She ended up absolutely loving the gold, and I just applied it all over to give it some highlights. So we were traveling all day. Oh, look, a hot mess. That's all right. Asked him to help me. I could probably do it myself, but I love it when he helps me. So we're cutting the 2 screws that are too large, and then he's drilling this hole to make it bigger so that we can get the knobs on good, because we're delivering it tomorrow. Don't you just love helping me, babe? You're the best ex-boyfriend that I've ever had.
I'm not doing TikToks.
Oh. Okay, are you ready for the big reveal? Yay!
Oh, that's beautiful, Lisa. I love it. Oh, it looks so pretty. Thank you.
You're welcome.
It's so pretty.
It came out good.
Yes,
I'm glad you did the navy.
yeah, it's beautiful.
And not too much gold.
Oh, yeah, it is beautiful. When you first showed me that blue, I thought, man, it's blue, but it's
Yeah.
all blended in. It's really
Yeah.
pretty.
Yeah, well, chalk paint dries lighter. So when I showed it to you, that's why I was like, it's gonna be darker.
That's really, I'm glad I want that good. I'm glad I want that.
It's a statement piece and it looks beautiful in here.
Yes, on top of it.
Yeah.
So
And that's the
pretty.
natural wood.
Oh, that is beautiful.
And then what do you think about the knobs?
Oh, they're beautiful.
I got two different kinds. I think they
Yes.
worked really good together. And then I tied that gold in.
Oh, I love it. That is really pretty. I'll show it to everybody. I'll do small business.
Oh, you're fine. I'm just glad you're happy.
I am happy. My mother, she would really like that. It's pretty. Make life.
I know. I'm so sorry. And now you have a piece of her right here that you can stare at.
Yes,
It kind of represents her glorified body, doesn't it?
yes, it does.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I say this all the time, but oh my gosh. I wasn't sure I was going to love this one just because I wanted really to have a lot more color. But wow. Wow. What do you think of that? Natural wood. It looks amazing. And look at that gray with the blue and then the black. Oh, the brown wax, the distressing. It is distressed a little bit. It just looks amazing.